Hey guys, welcome to another vlog. This one this one isn't one that I have been looking forward to make. In fact, I've been procrastinating on it for a while now. In my mind's eye, I was kind of planning on having it sort of done or whatever by in the early month of October, end of September maybe. I mean, I had another, call it an opportunity this September. It didn't work out. There was nothing I could do about it. It's just the way things kind of work sometimes. And as you're already aware, I'm reflecting a lot of kind of my process and the results that I'm getting from it. And I will admit it's not a perfect process. There are things that could be done better, but everything has been based off of everything. My process to do, like, to work with video with other people is I have to be in person with them. I cannot do it online. I mean, not only is it not working, emails rarely go very deep before they go cold. And I mean, it's such an intimate thing that I'm trying to get involved with people. Some people might have the idea where I'm trying to get into doing like promo videos or just things that you can just kind of put out there in some way, and then, that's good because a lot of people do that. I want to get into the deeper storytelling of whether it's a business whether it's a business, an organization, or an idea. There's a much deeper way of doing that. It's hard to illustrate that without having any real good case studies. So I'm struggling with that. But in any case, though, I am at the end. I'm coming pretty close to the ends of my savings, if you will. I've had a strong belief that you should have 3 months worth of savings sitting in your bank accounts or wherever, and I'm into that now. In light of the COVID, in light of starting a business, I was a lot more. I had a little more time than that, but that time is gone. And now I'm really, really concerned, and have been for quite a number of months. I mean, realistically, since the whole COVID thing started. Like when I look into the industry slowed down March and April, and even for the most part, I want to say May, but kind of in the May, June, that's when a lot of other people that, like I'm talking to or whatever, like they're all over the world. The projects were coming back. But the commonality in all of them is they already had connections. They already had these projects lined up. As far as I think I'm aware, and I could be certainly wrong, it's definitely a big world. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that are starting their video marketing or video companies in the COVID and being quite successful at it. But I'm just not having that success. I mean, even before COVID, I've been trying to get this going for about a couple of years now. I can't remember the exact date, but there's a video that I created, part of my vlog where it's, build the business or bust or whatever it was called. And I feel like I'm so close and yet so far. I don't realistically believe that there's going to be something that's going to change in the next little while. It's like everything in life. Doesn't matter what it is. Everything It's not about what you know, it's who you know. And I don't know anybody. You know, when I got started out here in Kelowna some 4 years ago, you know, fresh slate, you know, the place that I was working with was not a place that I was interested in networking. And basically decided to leave my networking till, well, the beginning of this year. And, well, you can't network with COVID. It's the opposite of networking, it's isolation. And there's such a steep stigma on people, and there's so many people attacking people on everything. It doesn't matter what it is. There's too many people on the internet right now, probably worse than it's ever been, just shitting on everybody. And you know what? Not everybody is necessarily deliberately shitting on people. It's just the way that it comes out. You know, keeping content to a sentence or two, you cut out so much out of it, so much out of the communications that what is left really does look like a trolling comment, maybe. You know, like I know the difference between feedback and criticism, so I definitely can see the difference online. But it's still, you have to look for that, or it can be personal. In any case, though, what I'm getting at with that is networking online is just virtually impossible. Everybody's too polarized in too many different things, and it just takes one thing that somebody might see. You know, and I'm guilty of it too. You know, if I'm looking into somebody else and I might see one little thing, I might write off them as a whole, you know, because of that one little thing. And it's not that I mean to do that. It's just there's not a lot of opportunity to, you know, figure out what the other things are. And I don't know where I'm going with that, but I don't know. So in a nutshell, what I'm getting at, and I don't know how official this message is, but I'm sure my landlords at some point are going to see this. And in some ways, you could say this is like my 3-month notice. In 3 months from now, if nothing changes in 3 months from now, I'm probably realistically taking all my stuff, smashing it to little bits, throwing it into the garbage, and I really don't know what. I really don't know. Because I'm not alone. There's a lot of people out there right now that don't know where they're going to get work. We're in a depression. You know, just because the news isn't illustrating that point doesn't mean that it's not that's what's happening. In fact, I've been quite aware of this coming into our future for probably about a decade, and I have been kind of preparing myself for it for a decade. I guess the short story on that is, 10 years ago or so, I really got into the economics, really studied history, really tried to figure out where are we going to be in the future? Why is so many people saying that, things are unsustainable? Like, what does that really mean? And so, 10 years ago, I changed my lifestyle around to prepare for it. And even coming out to Kelowna is a major part of that too. I don't want to be in Kelowna, I don't want to be in Edmonton or Vancouver when shit hits the fan. Now, I didn't know what it was going to take for the events to happen. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know that story. A virus? I mean, On some level, yes, I do believe that the virus is real, but it's just another strain of the cold. It's the media, or not even so much the media. The media is a tool. Politics is a tool. Fundamentally, and I would like to get into this in greater depth, not here, but later, perhaps in other videos. But fundamentally, when you look at the energy equation, you look at where we've come from, not just in the last century, but even like the last 10,000 years. But more specifically in the last century, we've been very oil dominant. And no matter what anybody thinks about oil, it's a finite resource. And people have a hard time grasping at that. Now, you could say, and I believe using rough numbers, yes, half the world's oil has been used. There could be more than half that's still left. But you have to look at it like fruit on a tree. We've picked the easiest apples off the tree, where you can just reach up, grab it, eat it, cheap and easy. But those apples are gone. And we're more than midway up the tree. And it takes a significant amount of energy and technology and the consequences of that to get the next apple. We're getting diminishing returns. And in the last couple of decades or so, we've been offsetting the true price of oil and the cost to get it through military actions, monetary policies and the works. And when you look at a per capita, adjusting for the inflation and whatnot, there's been no time in history that we have been in more debt. There's nothing even close. Like, you even look at the World War I and II and whatnot, the debts that we occurred in major past events, we were able to pay off those debts within a year or two in most situations. And all the other ones were just trivial whatever. The numbers that I last looked at, it was a couple of years ago, it would take the entire world's GDP 20 years if 100% of all our economic energy went to just pay off the debt. That's 20 years. That means we don't eat, nothing. We're somehow working for free, and somehow, whatever that value is going to pay the debt. The debt is literally impossible to pay off. And that debt exists because we're trying to offset the price of energy. We're trying to mask it. We're trying to kick the can down the road just a little bit farther. Anyway, I want to go into this in more depth, and that's at another point, but I guess this was mostly supposed to be about, where I'm at and why I'm like, why I'm got into video, why I'm trying to market the right ideas. But it's an uphill battle, and I'm alone, and I'm broke, and I'm facing homelessness now again. I have no plan B. It's the success of this, or... Now, for the record, I want to state this. How do I want to state this? I've had 2 suicidal moments in my life. I've been in depressions twice. Like 2 severe ones, I'd say. I want to say this is the start of the 3rd, but I want to say that I'm not so far down that path that I'm not completely incapable of helping myself. With the right opportunity, with the right whatever, it doesn't have to go that far. but I know the pattern. I know what it feels like. And, if I were to be real frank, I am depressed. There's no doubt about that. I've been playing a lot of video games in the last couple of months. Probably played more video games the last 2 months than. Well, I mean, it's hard to say, like, I'm putting in, like, it's all I'm really doing for the most part. And it's not that I can't stop it. It's not that like, I'm bored most of the time when I'm playing it. It's redundant. It's like the short story in my last depression. I played a game called EVE Online. It's basically the world's largest, most complicated game ever made. It's like considered to be like the most sophisticated software that the average person can interact with. It is a vast, like, it is. There's been so many attempts to try to explain what EVE Online is, and everybody that makes the attempt to define it, it could be a half-hour video or whatever, and they've all said at the beginning and the end, this is still not going to cover it. This is still going to be a whatever. Anyway, the point that I'm making at is I got into that game in the last depression that I was in, and I learned a lot of things about not just the game but the world itself. Anyway, I came to a point in my game where I realized that the amount of energy, like what it takes to play the game, is very much the same things you'd be doing in real life. Like the organization, the strategy, the resources, the economy, the interaction with other people to get things done, even though it's all digital. And like I mentioned, that's not necessarily ideal, but because it is still in a box that we call a game, everybody has virtually, well, everybody may have different goals, but it's very easy to find people with similar goals to, move some sort of agenda. Much easier than in the real world. In the real world, it's like, it's almost like, I don't even know what, man. Like, everybody has their own sort of goals and I guess ideas of where they would like to be doing and things of that nature into their future. But very rarely, and I'm guilty of this myself, very rarely, maybe it's very hard to match those goals with somebody else to move forward. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Going back to the Eve thing, what I learned was I want to spend this time. I want to put this energy out there. This is what I want to do. But I might as well do it in the real world. So when I came to Kelowna, it was basically no more games. Like, I stopped playing EVE Online. I think I kept Battlefield 3 kind of on the side. And for the better part of like the first 4 years, I might have maybe have played a few hours a week. Kind of like on the weekend for a couple hours each night or something like that. Like, 'cause, it's still fun. I still enjoy it. But frankly, I could easily go my entire life without playing video games if I can play the game of life, and it's way better. Games are just easier to get into because fundamentally it's all about solving problems. People play video games because they like to solve problems. And games, even though they can be challenging, they can be whatever you want, whatever difficulty you want them to be, but it still gives you a goal, it still gives you a reward for that, and it does so in such a small amount of time that, well, that's the addictive factor of it, is because you're always feeling like you're accomplishing something, where in real life you put in 100 times the effort and you get 100 times less the reward. But that's the world. That's just how that is just life. I don't resent that. I just resent how other people. It's hard to find other people to work with that is driven. Like A lot of dreamers out there. A lot of people talking about the things they want to do, and they don't do them. In fact, I feel kind of guilty of that myself, you know, like these videos, these I've been saying for, you know, years now, like in some way or another, like I want to do this, I want to do that. This would be awesome. And I feel like now I'm kind of at a point where I feel like I'm almost lying. You know, I'm not lying at the time. It's just, but maybe I am lying. Maybe I'm lying to myself. Maybe it is all just a fantasy. And that also kind of brings me to another point that you know, maybe I gotta shut down the hobby. I don't know what else I'd do, but you know, it's rewarding, but it's not. It's yeah, I don't know what to say about that because here's another way to look at it. I will see somebody else creating something meaningless, not meaningless. It means something to them, and it can mean something to other people. And you know, something they just whipped out on their phone. It's just something, you know, like don't get me wrong. Like if I see something that comes across, because I know some people, you know, everybody's got a camera and everybody uses it in different ways. But anyway, what I'm getting at is I feel like I put in so much time and energy and work into doing something, and I get it if it's not your cup of tea, but like look at my YouTube channel. I've got what 60 some odd subscribers. Okay, I get it. The content that I'm creating, the production value from the start. I mean it, but it. I need 100 subscribers just to get a unique URL for my YouTube channel, so I can like do better marketing with that. I can like right now it'd just be a messy URL. Anyway, I couldn't use it put it on a business card for an example. You know, like www.youtube/ well, I guess my name. Like that doesn't exist until I have 100 subscribers. And I'm not begging for them. I'm not buying them. I am trying to be as 100% authentic about my approach as I can, because I do believe that even though it has a slower start, if you will, a harder start, the history of it when we look back on it will yield a much larger effect, if you will. I don't get me wrong. If I'm working with a client, yeah, we got to cut some corners. We gotta get results, and that's, you know, even with Kelowna's Good Stuff, I have a model to which I essentially can effectively pay for subscribers that is still authentic, but still cheating. Something I wouldn't do for my projects. But anyway, that I don't know. Man. See, I don't even know what to say still, you know? I don't know if I need to redo this. I don't know if it's even... I just don't even know anymore, you know? And while I'm just being open and frank about things, you know, like I don't have a community. I don't have friends. I don't have family. I don't have anything. Just me, myself, and I. You know, I came out here to Kelowna because my sister was out here, and you know, I was hoping to, you know, something would have, but it didn't. And you know, kind of going back to my, you know, my second depression was about, well, it was like I guess 5 years ago, but it was things that were, you know, it was going on for a while. Anyway, 10 years ago, people were completely different what they are today. Everybody is just digital. They're all on their phones, or that's all. And I'm too old school. I'm too, like I was born. Ah man, yeah. It's like I'm born in a really awkward spot where I remember people and friends and associating with people. It was interactive. It was in person. The closest thing that we had was the phone, and I remember, the phone rang and we would just all run for the phone, like, and we knew everybody, like anybody that phoned our house, if you will. We all had to know them in a sense. Like we all got to know them in our own way, even if it was just over the phone. Like, this could be my sister's friends or my mom's friends or whatever, or even my friends, their parents, or you know what I mean? Like, you didn't just call somebody up and like eventually you're gonna get like that's the goal is to talk to them, but you interacted with a lot of people to make that work, and now that doesn't even exist. And now I'm just trying to figure out how to, because the phones, the cell phones, the Facebook, the instant messaging services. I mean, don't get me wrong. If they're used appropriately, they're a great tool. But it's not being used at all appropriately. It's a modern day epidemic of. It's causing so many mental, social issues, instabilities. I mean, if you look at like depression statistics, even before COVID, it's just been on the rise with the technology. It's because we spend less time with people and more time with their digital personas. Liking the pictures and the comments and the sentences, the memes, the all these things that are not us. It's a very limited version of us. We need to go back to the village. And, like that's again, going back to the video stuff, that's what I got into. I've got this massive theory of mine, and I get it. It's big and it's hard to illustrate the whole concept. I'm trying. But originally it was supposed to be a book, like 10 years or so ago. Anyway, maybe not quite 10 years ago, but anyway. So I think one of the things, I don't know if it's going to work at all. I don't know how many I'm going to get done, but I think one of the things that I want to push myself in the near soon is something like this, just raw, real, and I want to just hammer out some headline topics, not really bullet point them, but just paint a bit of a picture to get an idea or share an idea, and then hopefully, I don't know, it'll be like low budget. It'll just be me in front of a camera and I'll be aiming for, maybe YouTube works best with 10 minutes. Like 10, 15 minutes is a good space. But anyway, I should maybe consider doing that, is sharing more of my theory, or not so much my theory, like it's sharing more of the pieces of why I think the theory itself works. Anyway, I want to do that, but it's actually a funny story on that. I just lost my train of thought on that. Yeah. I don't know. Only 31 minutes into this. Definitely be cutting and cutting and cutting. Yeah, I'm lost, and something needs to change. I cannot be sitting in my living room here like I have been for the last few odd months, relatively speaking, doing nothing. The COVID depression has definitely hit me hard, harder than I was hoping. I was hoping, well, I was hoping things would be kicking along in some way. I'd be putting out more results or more. Even though I knew the game was going to change, I just figured, like, why is nothing happening? Why is it 10 times harder than it seems like it is? Like, like I know other people have challenges with it. Like it's just why does it feel like out of 100 people trying to get into video marketing, like a bell curve, if you will, you got people that just I bought a camera yesterday and people are just like, let's do stuff. And they roll with that. And then like I feel like I'm on the other end of the spectrum where it just doesn't matter what I say or do or try or attempt. It's like everything fails. Everything doesn't work. And I really know what the root cause is. I know I'm a little different, but I know like if I were to summarize it into like one, it's the network. The network that I don't have a network. I don't have Nobody knows that I exist. And those that do, what does that show? Maybe the people that know that I exist are going, woo, that guy's crazy. Leave him alone because he's just crazy. You know what? And maybe I am. Maybe I am just crazy. Somebody once said once upon a time, I don't know where, but there's a fine line between crazy and genius. And the difference isn't the individual, it's how the greater masses perceive the individual. You look at the greatest minds in history, they're all crazy. You have to be crazy to create something that didn't exist before. But people have a hard time with new ideas. It's really hard to be a first adopter. Most people, it doesn't matter who you are in your own way, you wait until everybody else is doing it. And then when everybody else is doing it, then you start doing it. But that's not your decision. That was just everybody else. People go with the herd. People are sheep. And yeah, I maybe I'm crazy, maybe, but I hope I can I hope I'm a genius, but who knows? That's not for me to decide. But in any case, though, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I don't know if I've said what I needed to say. I don't. Like there's been little nuggets here and there and little thoughts and things that I could probably say, and I don't think I've even really, like, I don't know what to say, but if you're still here and listening and watching this, thanks. I appreciate it, I guess. If you're wondering how you might be able to help me, well, support is certainly one thing, but, I need work, whether it's marketing, video production. That's what I'd really like to do. That's where you'd have my full attention. That's where I would take that 60, 70, 80 hours a week of video games and focus 3/4 of, like, go full tilt into this. But at the same time, rent needs to be paid. And I'm not against the idea of, just getting a job of some kind, of some sorts, if they exist still. I've kind of looked around and and I'm not wearing a mask. I am not going to wear a mask. I am not going to, no. I would literally rather smash all my stuff, throw everything into the garbage, hit the streets, disappear, commit suicide even, than wear one of those stupid, the masks are not part of the solution. They are the conditioning for New World Order. We're not going back to 2019. 2019 is done. The powers to be, whatever you want to call them, whoever you want to call them, I think it might be AI, but we're not going back. And I'm not going to wear a mask. Nope. I would rather die than wear a mask. So if you can find a way, if I don't know. Again, maybe I'm crazy. But if you feel like, or something, or you can, well, I'm sure there's a number of ways you could reach me. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, because things are not looking. I want to help people. I really want to help people. Helping people is probably the biggest thing I want to do. There's a whole world of needs in that department. And I can't help people alone. So yeah, if you know somebody, I don't know. Obviously, this probably would be the greatest message for them, for you to share to them or show to them or whatever. But it's part of my vlog series, so whatever. I guess if they see it, they see it. I'm not worried. This is the genuine story. The real deal. There's one thing I will be. I don't lie. I don't sugarcoat things, and I don't bullshit. If I disagree with things, and it's just makes sense to kind of like, okay, let's not, I'd rather just say nothing. And, whatever, right? But in any case, though, have yourself a good one. I hope this isn't the last one. I really hope that, there'll be, like, I don't know, this is just the struggle, I guess, of what I'm trying to do. I don't know, but I hope that we're not done yet. Hope we're not even I hope that in a year from now or 2 years from now or whatever, into the future, I can go look back. I could watch this video and others like it, where like it's just part of the cost that I have to pay, part of the experiences that I have to go through to get to something closer to what I have in mind. I mean, it may not exactly go the way I hope things will go, but I hope it rhymes at least, because at least then I can say, well, some 35 years of bullshit would be worth it. But in any case, though, let's just quit. We're done. Have a good one. We'll see you around.